Moving ahead, if you thought spas were only for the classes and not the masses, think again. Next up is the team from the Four Fountains Spa, comprising of the three co-founders, Mr. Anurag Kedia, Mr. Sunil Rao, and Mr. Saurabh Garg, here to talk about category creation. I request Mr. Sunil Rao to kindly take the stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sunil Rao. Since this morning is a lot about metrics and measurement, by way of introduction, let me say that I'm officially the shortest and the baldest of the three co-founders of the Four Fountains Spa, which is India's largest chain of affordable health spas. On behalf of my co-founders, Anurag Kedia and Saurabh Garg, I'm going to use the next 15 minutes to tell you the story of our 5-year startup and share some metrics which will hopefully help you evaluate the impact that we've had on the spa category in India. Sorry. To set the context in which we started this startup, we don't really need the press to tell us that we're living in stressful times, but if they are to be believed, then we're probably home to the most stressed women in the world, to the most stressed CEOs in the world, and half the working population in this country is stressed. However, when you compare that with the statistic which tells you how many people in the country are actually using spa services which are proven to help you de-stress, it's abysmally low. So if you were us and staring at that statistic in 2007, you would perhaps realize that the business that we were entering into did not really exist. So the challenge truly was to create a category from scratch. We tried to break this massive sounding task down to 3 important blocks. So category creation for us meant driving footfalls, which really was comprised of 2 bits, which is driving trials and repeat usage. Second was maximizing ticket size. And the third was capacity utilization, managing this important metric so that the product of 1 and 2 could be maximized. Let me share with you some of the initiatives that we took for each of these 3 challenges. As far as initiatives to build trials was concerned, we realized that trial building required us to address the 3 largest barriers to trial in the spa category. And those, in our view, were firstly affordability. In 2007, if you asked anybody about spas, the first perception was that spas were meant primarily for the rich and the elite. It was never for middle or upper middle class Indians. Second was awareness. Spas were largely perceived to be services that helped pamper yourself. They never really had any concrete health benefits to be delivered. That was the prevailing perception. And third was acceptability. There were several social and cultural barriers to usage of spas, primarily driven by the fact that several massage parlors had mushroomed in cities and small towns, which really scared people away from the idea of going to a spa. We addressed the important issue of affordability by resolving to be and proudly so, a chain of affordable health spas. We launched at a price point of $699 for a 60-minute massage when the rest of the country was offering 60-minute massages at close to 3,000 rupees. Even today, we continue to maintain a 40% discount to the average market price in a city like Mumbai. As far as awareness is concerned, we realized that before advertising for our services, we really needed to invest in educating people about the category itself. So we chose advertorials over advertisements to help talk about the health benefits that spa therapies offered. We did several awareness building campaigns through experience by organizing what we call mobile spas at corporates, at events, anywhere where we felt that our target audience was present but had never had exposure to spas. This allowed people to experience firsthand what a spa therapy would feel like. Since ours is a catchment-driven business, one of the important things that we did was to take a testimonial-style direct mailer and distribute these home-to-home within a 3-kilometer catchment of each of our spas. This helped to create awareness about what a spa could do for people residing in that area. It also included trial coupons, which a person could bring to our spa to try their first therapy. We introduced a first of its kind benefit-based spa menu, which classified spa therapies by health benefits rather than listing them simply by their exotic names. This allowed several first-time spa goers to choose spa therapies based on the health benefits that they offered, based on their needs, based on their lifestyles. It was a spa menu that a lot of first-time goers could really relate to. One of the biggest decisions that we made at the outset itself was to say that we were going to be a spa that offered no cross-gender therapies. Not that there is anything problematic with spas that offer cross-gender therapies, but largely the perception that had been created and the fear psychosis that had been created by the several massage parlors, inhibited people from coming to a spa for the first time. So even today, we continue to maintain that policy of offering only same-gender therapies at our spa. We used PR to build credibility by talking about the co-founders' professional backgrounds. We were able to gain some credibility or create some awareness about the fact that this was unlike other spa chains that claim to be professional spas but could possibly be massage parlors masquerading as spas. So this was very helpful in creating credibility for the category in the first place. We also entered into a lot of cross promotions with reputed retailers, and by way of distributing discount coupons or trial coupons to people who shopped at these retailers. This allowed us to gain credibility because we were being supported by these brands. Some of the outcomes of our initiatives to build trials were that this chart tells you the number of new footfalls that came to our spa over the last 5 years. So these are the last 60 months. So indexed to 100, you can see that the number of new guests that we have served over the last 5 years has gone up nearly 6 to 7 times. This is a monthly number that I'm speaking of. Secondly, and these are numbers that are slightly hazy, I must warn you, because there is really not a lot of research that is being done with respect to the spa market, but using some estimates from the FICCI EY report and the PwC report, we can conclude that while the spa market in India has grown in volume terms, the growth of the number of guests served at the Four Fountains Spa has been faster than the market growth, indicating that we've been successful in adding a lot more new guests to the category. Another statistic that stands out for the Four Fountains Spa vis-a-vis some of the other spas in the industry is that while the industry average for the number of women who make up the total number of guests served at a spa is 30% across India, for us it's as high as 56%. This, we believe, has been primarily because of our no cross-gender policy, because women view same-gender spas as safe and professional. These are two important metrics for first-time spa goers to try the category in the first place. Let me move to the next bit, which is initiatives taken to build repeats, because like I said, spas are viewed as indulgences, things to be done only once. It's a bit like going to SL World. You go there once and you've done it all, so you don't need to go back again. That was largely the perception. However, to build repeats, some of the initiatives that we undertook we primarily leveraged science and authority to build repeats. So we have a spa doctor at each of our spas who primarily plays the role of education. So if you go to the Four Fountains Spa, you will first be greeted by a doctor who conducts a basic health check. She does a quick pen and paper stress test that tells you the level of stress that you're currently undergoing. She maintains a record of your history and the stress level that you exhibited during your last visit so that she can monitor your progress. Depending on the level of stress that you exhibit, the spa doctor also prescribes the frequency with which you need to take further therapies. There's also a next appointment card that serves as a reminder to guests that their next appointment is due within X number of days based on the frequency decided by the spa doctor. There is an educative therapy card which is given to each guest, which helps him or her understand the therapy that he has just taken. And finally, an educative booklet which is more like a beginner's guide to spas, is given at the end of the therapy so that a guest may take it back home and go through it at leisure. It gives a lot of detailed information about the scientifically proven health benefits of our spa therapies. By way of outcome of some of these initiatives, we're quite proud to share that the number of repeat guests that we serve every month has grown almost 20-fold over the last 5 years. This, of course, is a number that's organic and inorganic, as we've also added spas over the last 5 years. However, if I were to isolate only the spas that have completed more than 5 years, which is basically 2 spas that we started with in Pune, that number also has grown nearly 5-fold. For the last 3 years, we've been averaging a growth upwards of 14% as far as repeat footfalls is concerned. That's something that's indicative of the fact that more and more people are convinced that this is something that they need to do regularly to stay healthy. The third initiative that we had taken was to increase ticket size. It's an important metric for us as well, especially in a new category. When the footfalls are lower and you want to make sure that the revenue targets sort of get met through the few footfalls that you have. We occasionally, taking a cue from several quick service restaurants and the pizza industry, we have been launching regular new therapy introductions which are priced at a premium to the rest of our services. For example, a venotherapy massage, which are wine-based therapies during Valentine's Day, or aloe mint and lime massage during the summers. All of which effectively help us to push our ticket size up by about 15 to 20% during the months of introduction. Just as an example, we've put up what a similar introduction during the summers did for our ticket sizes in 2012. So the average ticket size in Pune, which roughly is at about 990, went up close to about 15% for the 2 months of the introduction and came back to its normal levels after the introduction was done. We typically try to do 3 such introductions during the year. The third or rather the fourth and the very important metric that we want to look at is capacity utilization. Like I said, it allows us to maximize the product of footfalls and spends. To utilize lean hours, I mean, we almost 6 months into our venture, we realized that Mondays to Fridays, 10 to 5, were the leanest hours for our business. We were the first, therefore, to introduce the concept of happy hours, which was very prevalent in pubs and bars, to the spa category. So Monday to Friday, 10 to 5, you can enjoy a discount of about 200 rupees on any of our massages at any of our spas across the country. We also introduced prepaid membership plans, which gave you further incentives to try and come during our non-peak hours. So you had a wellness happy hours for Monday to Friday, 10 to 5, a wellness gold plan, which gave you a 20% discount, so on and so forth. So effectively, what we ended up creating was a bucket pricing very similar to airlines, where a person who used our least occupied time had a 50% discount to our peak hour pricing. So there were 4 different levels of pricing that you can experience at our spa, depending on which time you choose to come to. This helped us to manage our revenues quite well. The outcome of the initiatives to utilize our lean periods has been that the ratio of weekday to weekend occupancy is almost 50% higher, I would think, in our case as compared to the industry. What this essentially means is that we've managed to narrow the gap between weekday occupancy and weekend occupancy better than the rest of the industry. Sustaining these kinds of footfalls, sustaining these kinds of ticket sizes and capacity utilization cannot happen if we do not have adequate manpower. Hence, some of the initiatives that are being undertaken are, essentially, we've enhanced our training center. We have our own training academy where we train our therapists. We're working very closely with NGOs to try and see if we can have a continuous source of manpower that can be trained. Our growth is coming through franchisees, and hence our corporate team has been enhanced. We are adapting IT a lot more. And last but not least, and perhaps most importantly, our whole growth hinges on the fact that our guest experience has to be superior. In that respect, we have recently begun mystery audits, and we hope that that will give us further guidance in terms of how we're doing. Thank you.
What is the biggest challenges you've faced as you've expanded it? Because I think to create something small, which is very service in India, is not very difficult, at least from our experience. When it's maybe one city, maybe a satellite city here and there, but then you start expanding is when the quality dip happens. So I noticed the last slide had that, but could you elaborate more on that one?
Yeah, we have expanded to 10 cities now. We have 19 centers. Another 25 centers are in the pipeline for the next 12 months. So January to December, we plan to add another 25 new centers. The biggest challenge which we face is the supply of manpower. So, how we have tried to address that is we have a tie-up with close to 15 NGOs pan-India. We also are in talks with some government organizations, for initiating tie-ups. We have 2 training centers, one in Pune, one in Delhi. We are setting up a 3rd training center in Bangalore. The biggest challenge really remains the supply of skilled spa therapists, because we don't poach from the market. We have our own SOPs which we follow. And we are trying to we're trying to cater to that by one, tying up with NGOs, second, setting up more training centers and enhancing capacity of our training centers.
I think adding to that about the consistency and the quality maintenance, we have very strong SOPs which already are in place. Apart from that, we have an audit mechanism where our area managers go and do an audit of some 157 touch points every month. Apart from that, we do a mystery audit every month at each our center. Our therapists, they are audited technically through our trainers every 6 months. So a technical audit is done. We have a feedback mechanism in place where each and every guest who comes is supposed to fill a feedback if he wishes to. We ask for a feedback from everyone. And that feedback is automatically filled in a system, and within 24 hours, we reply to that person's feedback. So all these things put together, we have been able to maintain a consistency across the centers. And I think so far, of all the feedback which we have got a rating of above 98% as excellent or very good so far in whatever we do.
Our team's incentives also directly link to the feedback which we get. So right from the front desk manager, each of them are rated on a different parameter, and the spa therapist, everybody's incentives are linked directly to the feedback.
As entrepreneurs, have you developed any wealth creation or mechanism for your employees? Because every spa is like an independent company. It has to be run very entrepreneurially.
We have introduced an ESOP mechanism, and we have something called as the Four Fountains Spa Leadership Program. So people who fall under that program are automatically allocated stock options in the company. And this is something which we've introduced recently. And already we have 3 people who have already fallen under this program. Apart from that, the top employees which we have recruited now, they also have employee stock options.
Your target market in a gender sense is primarily women, and you are 3 guys. So what are your views of gender diversity at top rungs of your organization?
So we realize that that's a challenge which we face at the very top, at least in the terms of the promoters. So we have taken a conscious decision to do 2 things. One, the employees which are joining the corporate team, there is a fair mix, in terms of gender diversity. We also have a consumer panel where we try and include more women rather than having men.
And I think also we consciously try and speak to a lot of our customers every month. That's an initiative which at least all 3 of us try and do that thing. That we speak to more and more customers at the spas. And I think since we have almost 56% people who are women, we end up speaking to more women than men.
Question on pricing. Obviously, I must compliment a very structured approach. But you're operating about 40% discount to the market. So are you leaving money on the table? Is that the right pricing? Is there any way you decided on the pricing?
I would say that this is actually a fixed cost business. And what typically happens when you, and there's a price elasticity involved in this. When you price yourself at a much higher price, the volumes or the footfalls which you get are much lower. So what we have tried to do is that our revenues probably are as similar as other spas, and given that it's a fixed cost business, we essentially end up making a similar kind of profit margins.
I was impressed with the quality measures that you have. I think every touch point you're measuring. That's a very good thing because consistency is very important in terms of customer experience. You just mentioned that you're collecting a lot of data in terms of CRM. Are you putting the data to use, I mean, in terms of knowing what really creates customer experience, and how do you like to use that to probably acquire customers or retain customers?
Sorry, I'll probably talk about on two counts. One is on the marketing side. For example, a lot of our initiatives we have from day one, I would say, and that's something that we're proud of. We've tried to track the different sources from which we've had our guests come to us. So we know today that when we do a couponing activity, our redemptions are likely to be anywhere between 0.9 to 1.2%. If we do an activity with a gymnasium that's in the same building as us, the redemptions could go as high as 4%. So those are metrics. As we expand through franchising, what we've tried to do is to transfer those metrics to our franchisees as part of their training, so that they don't have to go through the same learning curve as we've had to, and use those metrics for their marketing efforts. That's one. Secondly, on the guest experience side, since we collect a lot of feedback from our guests, we know what areas we need to work on most. So, for example, most of our feedback today comes to us on the areas of ambience, more than on the therapy quality itself or the front desk, the way the front desk has handled them, or their booking experience. So we know that ambience is the area that we really want to work on. So as a result of which, Anurag, who heads our new projects, has completely revamped the way our spas look. So we have been using data from both the marketing and the operations side to really change the way we do things, or to at least transfer that learning to people who are going to be doing things in our absence.
I think even in our feedback mechanism, as soon as we get some data about some particular therapist whose therapy scores are low, we try and do an audit, we try and do a retraining for that person as soon as possible. Even for other feedback mechanisms which are given to us, we try and close the loop as soon as we can.
Thank you.